Art, there's also word that, and last night at this time we were talking about the fact that they had put out this picture of a second person of
Yes,
interest who they thought had crossed paths with the
right,
suspect at some point when he was wandering around and casing the neighborhood for more than 5 hours. They apparently found that second person of interest
right.
and spoke to him. Is it possible he was able to provide key information to identify this suspect?
That's a very good possibility. I mean, there is some video out there of him running, and there's been some assumptions made that he possibly saw that particular individual, and that he started to run. Either the person recognized him or he didn't want to be seen at that particular location. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these things fall into place. But I'll tell you, there is a lot of frustration out there that there's not a lot of information coming out of the task force, but I think that's got to do with the fact that once they picked up that first person of interest and then they released him, they caught a lot of heat for that. So I think after that criticism, they sort of kept everything under a tight lid. And really, we haven't heard anything coming out of these press conferences of really good value other than hopefully today.
Right, but Art, to that point, apparently not just local, but state officials were extremely frustrated with FBI Director Kash Patel for tweeting out that a person of interest was in custody, because at that point they were already thinking that this is not our guy. So,
Right.
in other words, I'm not sure that was a mistake by local and state officials or even the task force. That was a mistake by the FBI director.
Yeah, I think you got a couple things going on here. I mean, the fact that they're putting out, I think we're making the person of interest term too much like a suspect. Persons of interest are wanting to be talked to be able to gather more information. Not necessarily a suspect, but obviously it could be. And I think in this particular case, there was a lot of heat. And this happens a lot in these multi-agency task forces. You have a lot of type A personalities coming together, both male and female, in these task forces. And you have ideas out there, and a lot of people think their idea is the best. But I mean, you have to have strong incident command in these particular task forces, and you saw that happen after that first person of interest was released.
Yeah, local and state officials reportedly felt that that tweet by the FBI director damaged the early days of their investigation, set them back. Tracy, I'm curious, at this point, you potentially have a rental car seen in both locations. You potentially have DNA evidence and fingerprints. Maybe it does or doesn't match whatever you've got in the data banks. You have to have been arrested at some point to be in the FBI data bank. And then on top of that, you have this person of interest who crossed paths with the suspect as he was casing the neighborhood for that 5.5 hours. Those are three potential breakthrough leads that could have led to the identification. You go to the rental car company and ask who rented the car, and match that up perhaps against a DNA data bank. I mean, there are many, many ways they could have finally gotten to a name here.
Absolutely. I actually think one of the things that's not being discussed is our phones, because the reality is if they were able
Yeah.
to identify this rental vehicle, which it sounds like they have, they then probably could hone in on what phones were around the area and what phones were
Exactly.
essentially following that vehicle, even if it's a burner phone. And so I think that could have been very interesting evidence, and I think will provide to be a treasure trove at some point.
Yeah, we know that from the very start of this case, they were examining cell phone towers to see what cell phones were active around the Brown University campus. Perhaps they also figured out that that same cell phone was active near the
Right.
MIT campus, correct, to make that link, Art?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, my old agency, the U.S. Marshals, they're absolute experts at tracking cell phone data and computer IP addresses. So I think probably, and we haven't heard much about that, but it's probably going to be a big play when this thing finally comes to an end, that they had some cell phone info or some IP addresses that they were monitoring.
And just super quick, Tracy, Art referenced this, and he's right. There has been a lot of frustration, I think, from the public, certainly from reporters who always want to know more. with these press briefings in the last few days, why isn't there more surveillance video? Why isn't there more information? In many cases, authorities will withhold that information. They don't want it to be public quite yet.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's why the public is frustrated is because of the lack of communication, the unorganized way in which it's happening does create that frustration. But you need to sometimes hold that information close because you don't necessarily want the suspect to know that you know who they are. It gives you that upper hand when you move in for an arrest. So they're in a rock and a hard place. If they don't have him arrested right now, they may not provide his name at this press conference.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.